Now that lockdown has been lifted and quarantine has kind of taken the back seat, don't you want to find something new to do? Maybe a new hobby to get into with your friends? Today, I will be teaching you how to play Magic the Gathering so that you can get into a fun new hobby. First, I'll go over a good starting set to buy, and then I will go over the bare minimum to understand what the cards do, and then I will play a demonstration game so you can see the intricacies while I'm playing it. Since Magic cards are very expensive, I recommend buying Jumpstart. They are $6 a pack, and each pack is 20 cards. Even though a normal Magic deck is 60 cards, Jumpstart has a feature where you can just take 2 packs, put them together, and that would be a complete deck against someone who's also done the same. So you would need 2 packs per person, and each pack is $6. Now, I will show over what the basics of what a Magic card is. On the top right here, you can find the mana cost. The sun, water, skull, fire, and tree icons are the color of mana that you need, and the gray number is any mana. Now, lands have no mana cost, and they produce the mana that you can use to cast spells. And all of these here, artifacts, creature, enchantment, swamps, and planeswalker, these are permanent cards, meaning that they stay on the battlefield after you cast them. Instant and sorceries are not permanent, so after you cast them, they go straight to the graveyard after their effect resolves. And all cards do literally as they say in the cards text, which is this big box under the picture. So now it's time for the demonstration game. I have a deck here, and I will draw. So in order to start the game, you draw a hand of 7 cards. You can take mulligans, which means that if you don't like the card, the hand that you're dealt, you can shuffle it back. And each time you take a mulligan, you have to put 1 card back to the bottom of the deck. So for instance, if I didn't like this hand, I would have to shuffle it back into the deck, draw a new 7, and then pick 1 card to put at the bottom. So I decide I'm going to keep this hand. So the first player on the first turn doesn't draw a card. So each turn you can play 1 land. So here's my forest. And when you tap a card, that means you've used it. So since forests generate mana, I can tap it to get 1 mana to pay for my Elvish Mystic. And the cost is on the top right, so it costs 1 green. And this is a forest, so it produces 1 green. And I will pass my turn here to my imaginary opponent, who miraculously passes it back to me. So on the second turn, then you have to untap your cards. Then the upkeep happens if there's a card that says that something happens during the upkeep, and then you draw your card. I accidentally knocked it over, so here it is. And so I play 1 land per turn, so here it is. It's an island. And since the text of Elvish Mystic is that you can, this rotating arrow means that you can tap it, and so it taps to add 1 green mana. So I can tap and add 2 more mana to play Marwyn the Nurturer. Is a legendary creature, which means that you can only have 1 of each on the battlefield. And her effect says that whenever elf enters the battlefield, I can put a +1/+1 counter, which is +1 to her power and toughness. Power is how much attack the creature has, so when you attack with it, it will do that much damage. And toughness is how much damage it has to take in 1 turn to kill it. And then now, since I have nothing else to play, I will pass the turn back to my opponent, who also instantly passes it back to me again, so I can take another turn. So at the start of the turn, you have to untap the cards. The upkeep happens, and there's nothing that happens during the upkeep, and then I draw. And then I will play my land per turn. And then I will play a Skyway Sniper, which costs 1 green, so I tap 1 forest. And now, since this is an elf and it enters the battlefield under control, I get to put a +1/+1 counter on Marwyn the Nurturer. And in this case, I'll be using a dice to keep track of it. So now Marwyn has 2 power and 2 toughness. And then now I can pass the turn, and suddenly the opponent, on his turn, let's say he has a Llanowar tribe on the board, and well, he attacks. So when you attack, you must turn the creature sideways, indicate that you tap it, and so you use it for attack. And then now to declare the blockers, I just declare that it blocks by Eldritch Mystic. But then, since this is an instant spell, I can cast this on my opponent's turn, and it costs 3 and a green. So Marwyn can tap for 2, and then I can tap the islands for 4 total mana, and I get to create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token for each creature I control, for each elf I control. So here is my elf warrior, and since I have 3, I get to create 3 of them. And since 3 elves enter the battlefield, I can change this. This goes up to 5. Marwyn's getting very powerful. And since this is an instant, it instantly goes to the graveyard after I finish. I resolve it. And then I will, for demonstration purpose, I will block with the Elvish Mystic. And then, since the Llanowar Tribe has 3 attack, 3 toughness, and Elvish Mystic has 1 toughness and 1 power, Elvish Mystic will die, and the Llanowar Tribe that my opponent has will live. And then he passes the turn back to me. So on my turn, I have to untap, upkeep, and then draw. And I drew a very powerful card. And now I can tap. This is an 8 mana card. It's a Planeswalker. I will tap 8 mana and 3 mana in Marwyn, who has 6 power. What? That's 4 power. And now I can cast this 8 mana Ujin the Spirit Dragon. And this is a Planeswalker, which means that he is, instead of a creature on the board, it is treated as a separate player, which means your opponent can either attack me or attack my Planeswalker, and then I will block with my creatures. These have very powerful abilities called loyalty abilities, and you can use only 1 per turn. And on the bottom right, it shows the loyalty of the Planeswalker, which is basically their health. So when they lose loyalty to 0, they will die. And to gain and lose loyalty is also in their abilities, or when a creature attacks them and deals damage. So Ujin has 7 loyalty, and I can use its ability on +2, so it can do 3 damage to any target. So I will go to 9 with +2, and then I will deal 3 damage to the opponent's Llanowar Tribes, which kills it. And then, now, my imaginary opponent concedes because Ujin the Spirit Dragon is a very, very powerful card, and there's nothing the opponent can do. Now, you and a buddy can get into Magic the Gathering. You can each buy 2 jump starts and shuffle and play. So don't sit around. You can start slinging spells at your friends today.